tomorrow. Fucking do it. What are you waiting for? Well, it's got to be perfect. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You can start a radio show. You can write a book. You can go skydiving. You can take a martial arts class. I've done all that, actually. This book is going to be a kick-ass book. It's about William Wallace, but it's also about the people who surrounded him, and it is much less false than Braveheart. In other words, we're using historical facts, which I'm working with PhDs on now. And I learned something about older English white dudes. Yeah, this one's going to hit you from the backside here. Older English white dudes, it's been my opinion recently that they're kind of assholes. I don't know what that is, this weird sense of entitlement, or I'm smarter than everybody. I don't know. I was surprised by it because it started with this PhD that I wanted to work with on the Wallace book, who kind of, remember, the English do not like the Scottish, especially when it comes to discussions about William Wallace in that time frame. So I watched this guy in a 4-person panel speaking about this time of William Wallace, and I could see that he was rejected by the 2 Scots and the Irishman that were there. I could see it. You could see it in the body language. I can read that shit. You can too if you try. And basically, I think he was there, maybe not academically, maybe not as a scholarly participant, but as a human, he was kind of there defending England. And you could just see this. You could see this tension start to rise between this guy and the other 3, because the Irishman, it so happened, in my opinion, sided sort of with the Scots. He was kind of pro-Wallace. And I got in touch with this guy, and I wanted to get his help on getting the English perspective of this time so I could get everything right. And he said, I don't deal in fiction. I only deal in non-fiction. I was like, well, fuck you. I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. He was just a real asshole. And then another English guy I ended up dealing with, old English dude, Richard Dawkins. You know him, don't you? Kev had a little Twitter battle with him. Yeah, he decided to come on like Saturday or Sunday morning and say something like, I appreciate all the people that are trying to learn the English language. Just so you know, belief is a noun and believe is a verb. All right. Now, you know he's a militant atheist, which I don't like militant anything unless there's a cause for it. So I said, Mr. Dawkins, or I don't know how I worded this, but I said, you believe that any belief that cannot be proven true must necessarily be false? And he responded and said, of course I don't believe that. What do you think I am, an illogical fool? And I wrote back, I said, no, I think you're one of the smartest people in the world, so why are you atheist versus agnostic, which is my position? And there was some banter back and forth, and I finally said, while I fully appreciate your flow of logic, I also fully believe that you're an asshole. Is that the only way to get it done? That's what I said to him. And he is an asshole. And I've just been seeing this a lot with older white English dudes. I wonder what that is. Or I wonder if that's the way older white American dudes used to be before my generation came along and got more, I don't know, humble? I don't know what the right word is there. Maybe just less inclined to believe we were elite in some way. Something like that's a more passive way to say the same thing. I don't know. So I need to find some older white English dudes that are humble, I guess. Yeah, Richard Dawkins, the atheist. He's a dick. And the thing is his logic is almost entirely soundproof. But he does step off once in a while. And he does things like talking about the what does he call it? The agnosticism of the teapot or something. He's like, the belief you have in God is necessarily comparable to the belief that I might have that there is a teapot circling Neptune right now, or something like that. But see, I don't see it quite the same, because we can calculate the likelihood based on the average of how many teapots were created, how many may have been launched into space. We can kind of look at that. You can't really look at a God. You can't, there's no quantification there. So I saw apples and oranges there, but I also saw him trying to make anybody who believed in a religion look stupid. And I don't think that's cool either. And I told him, I said, it is the least scientific thing you could possibly do to claim you know exactly what is not there. And I think that probably had some effect on him or his posse. You know, these people I get into these little Twitter exchanges with, like Jake Tapper, they have their little posse, their little groupies, and they'll come to their defense no matter what. They're sucking dick the whole time. Yeah, fuck them. You know, I ain't worried about them either. Little lap dogs. Don't worry, Mr. Dawkins, we'll get them for you. You ain't getting me, bitches. Then they ask all these unrelated questions. Well, why do you think God exists? I didn't say God exists. Shut the fuck up. I'm not talking to you. Don't try to escape, Richard. I'm still tweeting your ass. I will tweet you into a corner and beat you with a wiffle ball bat. And that's a threat. Yeah, call the popo. Call the 5-0 on me. What are they going to do, break my neck? If I paint myself black, they will. Jews guy says, kill, kill, kill all niggers. You know, I'm a huge fan of freedom of speech. I am. And if people want to say that, let them say it. I'd rather you tell me how you feel than me have to figure it out after years. Yeah. I mean, that's all he said, though, Stabby, was, of course I don't believe that. What do you think? I'm an illogical fool? And really? Is that what I was implying? Because it seems to me like you hate people who are religious. And he said it before. You can look on any speech he's done. Maybe it's time we stop being so damn nice to people that are religious. As if he can prove religions are all false. Well, what a crazy thing. Well, what is the correct definition? I know, Stabby, look, I know what you mean when you say atheists just believe there's no evidence for God, rather than there is a presence of evidence that there is no God. I get the difference. But look at Dawkins, the way he talks. I mean, he's really anti-religion, totally anti-religion. And some of what he says makes sense. Like, I can see where religious beliefs have caused harm. But where does he get off knowing that religions are false? How can you know that? And if you can't know that, how can you be militant about it? What am I missing there, Stabby? Maybe you can help me. Schrodinger's cat. The observer effect. What happened to the cat? Is he there? Is he not? Is he dead? Is he not? I think the cat is probably inside a teapot circling Neptune. All right, Stabby may be here to defend Richard Dawkins, which is a good thing, because he deserves a defense. I'm going to give him a chance to do that on this show. This show isn't going to go much longer. We've talked about racism and all kinds of other shit. But we are talking about Richard Dawkins right now and militant atheism. And I don't understand atheism with an edge. What is this? How about just saying, I don't believe in your religion? I think the onus is upon you to prove your religion is legitimate. Until then, I'm not going to believe in it. Instead of, fuck your stupid fucking religion. What takes you from the first example to the second example? I'm not sure I get that. Because unless I absolutely know something, I don't persecute people for believing in it. On the other hand, I wonder how they don't feel foolish for believing in something that they can't prove. But that's just something I wonder. I'm not going to throw that in their face every 5 seconds. That's what I don't get. Baltimore calls in guard after 200 arrests, 144 car fires. On and on this goes. This was 8 hours ago, so that's gotten worse now. I think they have... I think they have imposed a curfew, so just about anybody that's out and about will be subject to arrest tonight. I don't know. I guess this little rebellion here may be quelled, but it could spark little rebellions all over this country until we start getting some fair treatment from those in a position of power. Harry Reid said this, and I know some of you guys hate him, but listen to this. We cannot condone the violence we see in Baltimore, which I agree with. But we must not ignore the despair and hopelessness that gives rise to this kind of violence. So let's condemn the violence, but let's not ignore the underlying problem. Now, he said, Mitch McConnell said, I hope the investigation into illegal behavior will be concluded soon, and those who've been engaged in criminal behavior will be promptly pursued and charged. Okay, he probably was talking about the looters. I hope he also was talking about the cops. I do. Because breaking the law is breaking the law. Mr. Gray's death, I think McConnell said this. Who said this? Oh, Reid said this, I'm sorry. Mr. Gray's death is the latest in a series of disturbing and unnecessary deaths of young men of color at the hands of police and vigilantes. That's a weird thing to add in at the end. Let's not pretend the path from poverty, like the one I traveled, is still available to everyone out there as long as they work hard, he said. For hard work to bear fruit, there must be opportunity, and there must be hope. I can't imagine what direction my life would have taken without the hope of the American dream. And I think it's a good point. That American dream thing is people, it's kind of doing the same thing as religion. People just aren't buying it anymore. They're not buying it. Stabby says, what's he say here? I've read all his books, listened to his speeches. You don't understand religion-based laws in America? Well, I do understand that. A superstition killing in Africa, Allah Akbar killing in the Middle East. Yes, I understand that. A patheist is not going to cut it. Next thing you know, they'll be teaching creationism in the first grade. Eddie says, Mr. Kierstead, what's that say? Be it known to you as long-experienced internet troll and zany. Okay. Uh-oh, here comes Barco. So, yeah, Stabby is definitely a fan of militant atheism. He says we have to attack religion, is what I'm gathering from his, as long as religion imposes itself on us in any way, including legal and educational systems. What did you... Is this... Okay, who said this, Barco? When nonviolence is preached as an attempt to evade the repercussions of police brutality, it betrays itself. When nonviolence begins halfway through the war with an aggressor calling time out, it exposes itself as the ruse. When nonviolence is preached by the representatives of the state while the state doles out heaps of violence to its citizen, it reveals itself to be a con. And none of this can mean that rioting or violence is correct or wise, any more than a forest fire can be correct or wise. Wisdom isn't the point tonight. Disrespect is. In this case, disrespect for the hollow law and failed order that so regularly disrespects the community. Hey, what's up, Barco? So who wrote that? Stabby says, in other words, an apatheist is someone who considers the question of the existence of gods as neither meaningful nor relevant to their life. Some apatheists hold that if it were possible to prove that God does or does not exist, their behavior would not change. Ah, damn it. I hate it when he fucking makes me think on my show, because that takes energy and time. So are you... Let me do a parallel here, Stabby. Are you saying that my position of agnosticism is it's apathetic? It's not making positive change because I'm not pushing back on false religious beliefs as you see them. Give a shout out to Riley the dog and Katie the cat. Hello, Riley and Katie. I don't know who Riley the dog and Katie the cat are, but I'll be like a famous person signing autographs. To my best friend Riley and the dog, and Katie the cat. There we go. You have that. Yeah, you're famous now. You're famous now. KTap talked to you, so there is that. Eddie Ware attacking Stabby. Do you really know Stabby, Eddie? I don't think anybody really knows Stabby. He's got a certain guard he runs. Certain things he'll let out there, and he keeps the rest to himself. Barco is also the same way. Barco has a troll persona that he uses when he feels like it, when he has the energy. And then when he doesn't, he does weird shit. Barco, I still cannot figure out a way to see this fight, man. I've been begging people. Trying to get friends to go in on it. Trying to find internet links that aren't going to... Okay, this is the article he got it from. Let me open that up real quick. Police brutality has a very long history, and that's not just in America, folks. And, the first longer book I wrote, Name of Alt, it was about an alien that lived on Earth. And he was talking about police law enforcement. That was his biggest problem. He said, my alien race, our biggest weird issue with humans is that law enforcement are so corrupt. What is that about? And I think it really speaks to baser human instincts of any time you can gain a power edge, it takes a lot of discipline not to use that for the wrong reasons, doesn't it? Because we have those base instincts, things we want to satisfy. So we'll use that unless we're very strong and have a good moral compass inside of us. And that's unfortunate. It's a very bad weakness in human thinking, as far as I can see. I mean, I could see how it got us through the past 20, 30,000 years, but I don't know. Maybe with these designer babies coming after what China's done with the splicing DNA, we'll be able to get rid of some of these selfish behaviors. anything that looks like bullying and is bullying, I'm opposed to. That's really the simplest way for me to put it. And you see that most often with law enforcement. Well, I found it was interesting that Fox News had on Juan Williams, who's, I guess he's half black, I can't tell. He's high yellow. He was basically saying, that has nothing to do with race.